Okay, there we go. Welcome everyone to KDX Connect. I am Dance, and I am the founder, director, creator, all those beautiful things. Sorry about that. Of the Keep Dancing experience, where passion never stops. This is my way of making sure street dance culture does not die in Gqeberha. And I think for us, a lot of the times we want to meet all these dancers, but anamali, and it's obviously just a lot of effort to get ourselves over the seas. Sorry, everybody's telling me they're joining now. So yeah, so our guest speakers today are specifically in the fields of what we're going to have at our event on Sunday. So that is locking and amapiano. So Lyrical Deezy, Densley from Cape Town, founder of Elite Movement Dance Studio, and he is going to give his insight on locking and how he found it, where it comes from. Our master for KDX Volume 11 for Sunday will be joining us as well. He's going to be our locking master, Manga, and I also would love for him to also give insight as to locking and the controversy. It's not actually locking, it's Campbell locking, etc., etc. And of course, I would love these dancers to give their insight just into the street dance industry in general, because ASEAN PE, like I said, we don't get a lot of opportunity to experience not just the culture but the industry, going to an audition, etc., etc. So we're gonna take it off with locking first. I see Manga has not joined, but let me just see. Okay, that's Zukile. Okay, so I'm gonna then ask Deezy to give us a little intro. Who is he? How long he's been dancing, and etc. etc. So we can give a clap emoji. Welcome to Lyrical Deezy, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much for having me. Shout out to you guys for this platform. My name is Deezy from Cape Town, as you guys can see. Owner, founder of Elite Movement Dance Studio. And yeah, I'm excited to be here with you guys, sharing and just kind of like diving deep into some layers of this entire vibe. Shout out to PE, first of all. Like, I feel like PE has such a rich culture and there's some dope dances. And I feel like an initiative like this will really like boost that community as well. So shout out to PE. SA mustn't sleep on PE. Shout out to PE one time. But yeah, like my name is DZ. I'm 30 years old, professional dancer, choreographer. I love dance. I love people. I love teaching. I love traveling the world. And I'm happy to share with you guys tonight my experience with locking. And yeah, like I've been doing locking for a minute now. Like I really only got into it like I would say 2010, 2010, 2011. 2011 was like when I really took it to like an international stage. I did Hip Hop International for the first time, so HHI. That was my first ever comp for locking, which was like a big comp. So I was like, damn, that's crazy. And I remember it was the HHI finals in Johannesburg, and that was low-key my matric year. No, grade 11. I can't even remember, but yeah, it was like crucial time in school. And I went up to Joburg and I did the comp. It was my first time. I didn't expect to come far. And note that this time, like my knowledge and my experience with locking was very very limited, but I managed to like make it all the way, getting top four and then winning that and coming top two against Terry, and then I got the first time ever getting a silver medal for HHI SA. It was insane. Obviously got selected to represent South Africa at the World Champs in Las Vegas for locking, and yeah, made semifinals there as well. Like it was nuts. It was a super dope experience. So yeah, I'm happy to be sharing with you all today.
Please use the chat as well as we go. For again, a disclaimer, I would prefer that our speakers, Benny, Lyrical DZ, Liko is going to join us soon, and Manga, making use of the mic. And please, those listening in, clickety clack on the chat. But thank you, DZ, for giving us a little insight as to where you started. And I would love now Manga, if he's ready, to give us now what is locking, where it started, and then please, DZ, you can also now jump in. We're having a conversation. we're connecting, because I would love for people to, when they step in at KDX Volume 11 on Sunday, to know, okay, this is what I'm coming to learn. This is where it started. Because knowledge in street dance culture is a very important element, when apart from learning what the style, how the style and the foundations. So Manga, you ready? You can take the floor.
Hi guys. I'm still driving back from work. That is why the video is gonna be off. But um, in terms of locking from my side, locking is a style that has lost a lot of fans because it's such an old style. It's a funk style, so it becomes difficult for people to connect with a style that they don't understand the music. Um, Everybody, okay, the people that do know locking or have the passion for locking know that it started as Campbellock, by a guy called Campbellock also. It's a style that it was a show style. It was a style for people entertainment. It was never really a battle style. It was an entertainment style. That's why it's such a happy style when you watch it. My introduction to it was Hilti and Bosch back in the day when they were doing showcases in big suits, black and white, on the stage. They are Asian lockers. I'm not even sure if they are breaking still. I mean, not breaking, if they are locking still. Um, but that was my introduction, and I loved the style because it was such an expression, and it's such a feeling more than anything else. It's a style that is more of the music takes you where you need to be. Yes, there's foundation and things like that, but you feel how the style is supposed to be. You feel how the music is supposed to move you in the style. So yeah, there's basically my introduction to locking. My favorite lockers now are probably Rocher, some of the ghetto styles lockers. I see them doing their things, but there aren't a lot of people who are visibly locking now. It's a big culture in Asia that I can see. But yeah, there's not a lot of names that you can name. It's not like breaking or crump or hip hop where you can actually name names. So you need to be immersed into the style to know who the lockers are. In South Africa even, I think in PE, me and Chezi are the only people who actively train locking in PE. I know in South Africa there are other people like Deezy. Um, we've been watching, but I see that he's also uh, versed in a lot of the funk styles, which is also the niche that comes with locking, because you don't just get into locking just to lock. You get into locking because you either love some other element and then get into locking, and then that becomes a passion of yours also. So yeah, that is um my 5 cents on locking.
All right. Okay. So that is, in terms of, in South Africa, who the lockers are, that was also something I had to ask Chezi. I was like, hey, who do you think I should ask? And honestly, when he said Dizzy, I was like, duh, Chrissy, because I've been watching also the content from Elite Movement and all that. And Dizzy has such a lekker funk, old school feeling, that you don't often see, especially in South Africa. The other person that I know, it's Terry. Terry was going to join us today, but he is in Spain currently, and the times didn't match up. And then there was a Genesis. He battled Verb in when Verb was building up to his EBS tour. So those are only like the few names. Maybe Shami, I think that's her name. But yeah, Deezy, your take on the style dying out, not to make it sound like so like more, but anyway, what's your take?
Yeah, like first up, let me start off by saying like the previous points just mentioned, very valuable information and insight. I really appreciate that. So shout out for saying all of those things. Just my perspective on the style, and I guess from an outside perspective, like it's seeming like the style is dying down. I think it really stems from like having enough platforms to showcase locking. I think when locking was like at its peak, or at its like the phase where it was booming, it was probably like platforms like HHI that was like almost the only comp that was like having a locking division. So I think it all comes back to like platforms where there's a section or a category to include locking dance. I think the interest has dropped over the years, and that's why maybe they took that out of competitions and stuff like that. But there was a time, maybe a decade ago or so, when it was really popping. I think it's just like maybe people aren't educated on the style enough. And I feel like once you have a lack of education, like you lose the passion for it. And I feel like you can't really enjoy something when you don't understand it. So it really comes back to, people like myself actually contributing and, adding some energy and teaching the next generation on what locking was, but also putting that responsibility on the new generation to kind of like research and know who was popping at a certain time, which dance styles were, popular at a certain time. I feel like it's very important to also, have like the theory side, with the practical side. So yeah, that's my perspective. I think like just the popularity for the style, I guess, died down, but mostly the platforms it being showcased on. Like for myself, I really only did HHI for locking, and because I knew like, okay, this comp is like that you go to the world champs in USA and you verse like the best lockers in the world. That was kind of like the only one. And even when I won or placed like top three, like for all those years I did it, I had to like fundraise for myself, get myself over there. So I think that's like another, which I think is like a general like challenge for like most competitions, is like, funding and getting dancers overseas and stuff. So maybe that also like drop people's energy to really pursue locking dance here within South Africa. But yeah, I think I don't know, like it just went down a little bit. But for my stuff, I'm still, if there's an opportunity, I'm still teaching locking. I love locking music, and I like what the previous speaker was saying about locking dance, like diving into like other styles, like other funk styles, because like I was taught that locking is a funk style. So like if you look at the music, like the funk music, or even like break beats, you can do like popping to that, you can do locking to that, you can do breaking top rocks to it, you can do like punking, whacking to it. So the musical genre is like very similar. And I feel like I actually started out doing popping, like I was like super underground cat before I got into like the choreography world where I find myself now. So like I started out as a battle cat, like mostly like doing popping, and I used to do like a lot of competitions in popping, but that love kind of like blossomed me out in different avenues, and that's when I discovered locking. And I was like, yo, the music choice is like very similar, like the overall feel, that funk is like very similar. There's some similarities, and that's basically how I came about. Yeah. So yeah, I know that was a mouthful, but I hope that was good.
No, no, I'm glad. We need to all the information we needed. Thank you. Okay, so because of KDX, I've been able to do my own research, and because of KDX, I've learned so much from all these masters, from the KDX masters, about doing a research, etc., etc. So I also did research about locking because I want to be informed when I do things like this. I sent out a newsletter. I know people don't read. That's why we're doing this. But the other very important element that a lot of okay, I'm going to keep it specific to Gqeberha. All of the whacking, popping, locking, I don't want to say house, but there's another style. I think they all did come from the same era, 70s disco. They were all showcased on the old school show Soul Train, and that is why you can actually draw elements, or rather the same style, on the same song. So you can play maybe a James Brown song, and you can maybe whack to that. So Deezy spoke about the platforms and competitions like Summer Dance Forever. If you guys are not familiar with that, please look it up. They actually focus on only those funk styles. They'll only have locking battles, whacking battles, popping battles, they do have hip hop as well. So that is one way I think as a country, perhaps as PE, that we can now introduce. Okay, we'll only have whacking. Obviously, we'll need to do it gradually because there are not a lot of locking battle dancers, whacking dancers for us to back to back top 24, only whacking, only locking. But I think that is one way for us to introduce and make sure that the styles don't fade away. You know, like it's such a fun style. Like just watching it, you just somehow want to dance as well. But I think it's also a lot with the funk styles, like these. And honestly, I believe, this is my opinion, somebody can correct me. I just believe that all these three the styles that were the founded, created, that evolved, really just it stemmed from people actually just having a good time and trying new things and allowing the creativity to just flow, because that is what dance. That's how I found dance. I heard music and I just wanted to dance. And again, I danced since like 2013. I was like grade 7, then I really found dance, but I never did my research up until now. And I think like Deezy also said, once you do your research, you actually you have a newfound love for the style, why it was created. As I understand it, Don Campbell, I must look at my notes. He originally actually dance. He if I remember correctly, please correct me if I'm wrong, was trying to pop, I think, and then ended up, it looked like he created locking. So this man actually couldn't dance. A lot of people, what are you doing? And then it became like, this is a style. So if you want to really tap into that and just enjoy the funk, obviously Volume 11 on Sunday, where we try do all that. So Kwazi has a question. What's that 1 or 2 basic moves you can drill to be familiar with locking if you've never tried it at all? Something like the bounce and rock in hip hop. Who wants to take the floor with that?
I'll take the floor with that one. So I would say, firstly, there's so many, but definitely like for me, like one of the most important like foundation steps or locking moves, if you want to call it that, is the lock. Like whenever I teach a class and I teach locking, I would always start with the lock, because I feel like the lock is like the backbone of the style. Like if you're not doing the lock, you're not doing locking. You can do all of these cool, crazy tricks and combinations, but if you're not doing the actual lock, there's not that crisp stop motion that's intended with locking. So definitely the lock, and then also the muscle man or the up lock. That's something that's super important as well. If you just want to focus on like having a good form, and especially like the up lock actually goes into the lock. So once you understand that coordination, it just makes it so much more smoother. Your muscle memory will be locked in, and you'll just gradually like develop that form. Because anybody can do steps, but it's another thing to actually maintain that form. And I think like specifically with the lock and the up lock, aka the muscle man, those two moves are super vital to get that form locked down. So that's what I would say.
Thank you, Daisy. I think with any street dance style, I said this in a class today as well, you need to get your foundations like on point. If you can get your foundations, then you can. In varsity with design, I learn the rules first so that you can actually break the rules, because now you know your foundations and you know where it starts, etc., etc. Now you are allowed to be creative and build and build and build. All right. Any other questions, guys? Please keep chatting. You can comment as well. Looking at my notes, we have touched on a few things already.
And to actually come back to a point that we haven't discussed is like some of the misconceptions about locking dance. There's many. I'll maybe just touch on 2, but like the one thing I want to mention is that one of the biggest misconceptions are that locking dance is like limited. Like that's crazy. Like even at competitions, I would always see like crews or dancers doing like the same 3 locking or 4 locking steps and just like recycling it. And for people, they think that is like where it starts and ends. Like the vocabulary when it comes to locking dance is so big. Even the basics that you take, you can turn it into a combination. You can like fuse it with other genres and just bring out a whole new color within the style of locking dance. So yeah, like the vocab is endless. Like I would teach like a 90-minute class and I would get through maybe like 5 or 6 locking steps, but there's like so many. And you can find this information on YouTube, anywhere. But there's so much more to learn with locking dance, and yeah, I just hope to encourage you with that. And also, like, just one thing I want to mention, like, I think one of the misconceptions, like, within the style is like, and I guess it comes from people that's not too educated on the style. It was a big thing when people called it like pop lock. Do you know what I'm saying? Because I feel like there was the stop go motion of locking made people believe that it's like a contracting movement where you're stopping sharp. So they used to think like popping is locking, because like with popping you would have like your Fresno, like your pop, and they would think that pop is like a lock. But then again, there was an era with the electric boogaloos, who are the creators of popping, that was influenced also by the original lockers, which is from Donald Campbell, Tony Basil, all of them. And I feel like the synergy between them, I feel like there was a crossover of information, and it got lost in translation somehow. But I just want to remind everyone that popping is like on its own and locking is on its own, and not pop lock. Yeah, I feel like pop lock was something unique, like way back then. But I feel like a lot of people like mixed it too. So yeah, just know that popping is popping and locking is locking.
I think I want to end it off with maybe the hope for the future in locking. Please, the keepers watching, what do you hope for? Are you excited for KDX Volume 11? Are we going to see you there? Deezy, Manga, what do you hope locking can evolve to now that we know it needs a little bit of attention? Manga, I think you can take the floor on this one, and then I'll give it to afterwards.
From my side, I've always hoped that the foundation styles get the recognitions that they are supposed to get, because I don't really think that we would be this far into the dance world without those styles. We must also remember that back then, people used the resources that they had to create. So the music sounds very time periodic because that is all that they had then. Not to say that those things can't happen now, because anybody can create dance challenges now and create movements now, as recent as Crump. But I think that the most important thing is to understand those things, not because you want to be an old head or you wanna know these old dance styles, but just learn the history of dance in general, and that should give you enough insight into how to discover and how to create anything. We are stuck in a space now where we are rinse and repeating dance challenges. And that's not a bad thing. I've always said I don't mind TikTok dances, or I don't hate on TikTok dances, because it keeps the eye on the dancing. But I also want styles like locking and breaking and crump and popping and hip hop to get the recognitions that they are supposed to get, because now these dance challenges don't exist without those basics. We can always trace back the movements to something that was a funk style or a basic style back in the day. So yeah, from my side, that is my hope. I've always hoped that people would be interested in the style enough to start locking. I know it looks like an old style. It looks like a very niche style. But once that bug bites you, I'm sure that a lot of people would enjoy it, and I would hope that a lot of people enjoy the style. I've watched DZ battle also. I haven't gotten the chance to battle in the locking styles. I
Maybe
would,
coming soon.
but I watched DZ and Genesis and Terry and other guys battle in the styles. I've watched international battles. And that is where the love comes from my side. The love for dance in general from my side comes from the battle. I think it's more of a chess game than people think that it is, but enjoy the music, listen to the music, study the music, then study the movements. The basics and the foundation are just the skeleton of everything. I say that in every dance class. The foundations that we give are just skeletons. You add the meat and the bones and the features, and you create what you want to create out of the style. But knowing that your structure is there is the most important with any style, with every style. Every style has a bounce, every style has a feeling, every style has basics. So those are the most important things, the things that people need to dive into before they can call themselves lockers or poppers or hip hop dancers or house dancers. So yeah, that is it from my side. Thank you guys.
Thank you. Thank you, Manga. Deezy, you can take the floor then if you have anything else to add. Then we will, quote unquote, kind of wrap up our locking conversation.
For sure. Thank you so much. Yeah, I think just to answer your question, like what I'd like to see or what are my hopes like going forward. I think coming back to what you guys have already mentioned, just people really like getting themselves to a place where they really fall in love with the foundation of the style and just the style as a whole. I think um, what a lot of dances, maybe in PE and in South Africa in general, like I see a lot of the choreography scene is being pushed and not like individual styles. But I want to encourage those people that's like so hard in the choreo game. Like you mustn't forget that the choreo, like the amazing choreo that you guys do, can be traced back to like foundational steps. Like if you're doing hip hop at the high level, it probably comes from like hip hop foundation. Do you know what I'm saying? And I feel like once you understand your foundation and your basics, it really elevates the choreography that you guys do in gigs and music videos and all of these cool stuff. So never like abandon like foundation, because it creates like good movement quality and better understanding and the feeling of music. So never, I want to encourage people like with locking basics, like in particular, don't be afraid to like dive deep into like the ABCs of it. But yeah, thank you so much for having me, and make sure you guys train, and hopefully like the scene can be built up again. Maybe we don't need too much money, we can just have like sessions, like free sessions, educating like the next gen. And who knows, maybe like locking dance will be back at competitions and thriving and taking our people overseas again. So that's the last words from me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Deezy, and thank you for enlightening us, Manga, Deezy. Thanks again, guys. This was very much enriching. Thank you for taking the time. I know we all actually want to be chilling or sleeping, or maybe there's assignments that need to be done or something. But honestly, thank you from the bottom of my heart for taking the time to listen in and expose yourself to other dancers in the industry, not just in PE. So hopefully we can do this again. We say keep dancing. This is where the passion never stops.